Hi, I'm Larry Puckett, the DCC guy. Today I want to talk about accessory decoder power buses. Yes, another power bus, this time dedicated to power your accessory decoders and any other accessories on your layout that you might now be powering off of your DCC power bus. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, before we get started, I want to ask you to take a second to subscribe. Click on the subscribe box, and when that comes up, click on the little bell right next to it and click all. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. But before we take a look at accessory decoder power buses, I want to go back and mention a couple of things about these Cobalt digital switch machines, because I got a couple of things wrong, or at least one thing wrong. One thing that I found out right after I finished that video on the Cobalt switch machines, these are not a stall motor type switch machine, which is what I said in the video. You know, your tortoise and your snail both operate, and the motor itself stalls and still continues to be powered when it comes to the end of the throw. However, with the Cobalt Digital, when the motor comes to the end of the throw and the points are completely thrown, the circuit inside actually turns off power to the motor. And that's why it only pulls about 5 milliamps of current when it's not moving. So when it's moving, it pulls about 40 milliamps, which is, in perspective, an LED pulls about 20 milliamps. So it pulls a little bit more than a standard LED, but not significantly so, because remember, it would take something like 25 of these operating at the same time before it was even pulling an amp of power. So it's not a significant amount in that respect. But it's an important difference because the motor is not stalled. It simply shuts off, and then the accessory decoder that's built in sits there and it consumes that 5 milliamps of current just waiting for another command. So it sits there and monitors the DCC network and listens for a command to tell it to move the points. So that's all I have to add on this one. Now, what about the topic at hand? The question of who needs an accessory DCC power bus? Well, there are really two reasons for wanting to have an additional power bus. And that's what I mean, because the way you set these up, it's essentially the same as creating an additional DCC power bus on your model railroad, just like you're creating another block on your layout that you have to power separately. So the wiring's the same, everything's the same, except there are some options available to you. Now, obviously, one thing that you could do is to simply buy another booster. And, you can pick these things up cheap on the secondhand market through eBay and other internet forums like that. But there's also some very good and inexpensive ones available to you. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about why you would want to have an accessory power bus for your model railroad. If you don't have any accessories powered by DCC, then you don't need to worry. You can completely forget about having an accessory power bus for your layout. However, if you are operating any of your switch machines using accessory decoders, if you're operating any of your LEDs or lights or animation effects or anything like that using an accessory decoder, if you are using DCC power that you've just dropped a feed off of to run lights or LEDs separately, and you've rectified it or whatever, then you need to think about having an accessory power network. Now, the reason for that is all of those different consumers of power add up. And that power is power that you then do not have to operate your model trains on your layout. So the main reason then for having an accessory DCC power bus is so that you can maintain as much power from your boosters in your command station that you want to dedicate to running trains on your layout and just have a separate bus set up to operate your accessories. Now, how do you go about doing that? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Now, I've talked about and shown how to set up a DCC power bus in the past, so just refer to those videos because you do the same darn thing. And basically, all you need is a second DCC booster, or a third, or however many you have on your layout already. You add one more to it, and use that one as a dedicated, separate DCC power bus just for your accessories. Now, a lot of people then might say, well, you know, that's expensive. I have to go out and buy another booster. Well, you know, you can pick up additional boosters, as I said, on the secondary market. There are people that are, you know, buying and selling these things all the time on eBay. You can get them on various internet forums where they sell things of that nature. So typically then, and you can pick them up at train shows also, once we get train shows started again. But there is one other option available to you, and that is a special booster produced by Tam Valley Depot, and that's the company that makes frog juicers. So I'm sure you've seen frog juicers. I've talked about them here and shown how to use them here on my videos, and they're very well published in the press, and a lot of people have used frog juicers. And Tam Valley Depot is the company that makes them. So you can just look on the internet and look for Tam Valley Depot and go to that website, and you can find all of the different products that they make. And in addition to their frog juicers, they are now making a lot of products for controlling switch machines that use servos. They make a lot of different interfaces for other things as well. But the one thing that I want to show you today is this right here. And this is right here a DCC booster. It's rated at 5 amps. And this is one of their products. I looked up the price today, and on the Litchfield Station website, they had a price of like $47 and something. So it's fairly inexpensive as far as that goes. So for $47 then and some change, you can pick up one of these boosters that are designed specifically for either powering an accessory power bus or to power, you know, sections on your model railroad. Matter of fact, I don't know if it's true anymore, but at one time the fellow that owns the company operated his model railroad using a Sprague DCC system and used these boosters to power the layout and the various blocks on the layout. So he put together his own little DCC system using a Sprague command station and these power boosters. And I'll show you more about how that works in a minute. Now, the only other thing that you really need to buy for this is one of your standard power supplies, because they're rated at 5 amps. So you'd want something that's putting out about 5 amps, 4.5, 5, something in that realm at, 14, 15 volts, something in that realm. And basically, all it takes is a simple barrel plug connector here, and plug it into the wall, and it's powered. So what I want to do next is focus down here on the workbench, and we'll take a close-up look at this little guy here. So you would simply power it using a standard power supply like I just showed you. And the one I showed you is rated at, somewhere up to 20 volts at 4.5 amps. And it has a little slider here on the side for setting the voltage. Okay, so you can control the voltage, and the amperage is about 4.5, so that's pretty good. I'm going to disconnect that and get it out of the way because I'm going to knock it off. The other things here, you can see we have a DCC in and a DCC outside connectors. And these are your standard screw terminal type connectors. Stick your wires in here. So basically then you would supply DCC power into it, and then you would be able to have a couple of wires here that would connect to your power bus that you're creating. Now, you have to have a DCC connection here coming from your booster in order to provide the basic DCC signal that is going to be amplified by the booster itself and used, for sending signals out, sending commands out to the accessory decoders on your layout. Now, what else is here? Well, the other thing that's important is right here. It has a setting for track and accessories. So it has TRK and ACC. Now, if you take this guy off, this little black jumper, then it sets it up for track mode. If you have the jumper covering both pins like that, then it becomes an accessory decoder booster. And what's the difference between that? So if it's in track mode, then it's going to shut down if the command station shuts down, because it's going to stop getting DCC signals. However, if you put it in accessory mode, like I've got it here, and like you would want for powering an accessory booster, then it continues to provide DCC power to the power bus and to your accessories for 5 minutes after the command station or booster powering it dies itself. So that's the big difference. And what you want, of course, is for accessory power, you want it set on accessories. And that way, even if there's a short on the command station or wherever you've got the DCC signal coming from to this, even if there's a short with that and it shuts down, this will continue to supply accessory power to your accessory decoders for 5 minutes afterwards. And that's very important because one very common cause of shorts on model railroads, and this is something that I did a video not long ago, and I'll put a link to it up here above me, and this can happen when inattentive engineers run their train into a turnout that is set against them. And if they're coming from, the diverging end, or what's called the heel end of the turnout, as soon as they cross the gaps at the diverging end of the turnout, that will create a short, and it will kill power to that portion of the layout. However, if you have an accessory power bus, then it will stay powered up, and you will still be able to throw that turnout so that you can clear the short by simply changing the polarity of the frog and the frog rails. So that's why this is such a neat thing to have on your layout. Now, in addition to having a power in connection and DCC in and DCC out, as well as this jumper here to allow you to select whether or not you wanted to operate track power or accessory power, there's another thing right back here, and that's a little solder spot marked ground, because there are some command stations and boosters that require that they be interconnected with a ground connection. And the reason for that is in order to allow a DCC-powered locomotive to cross a set of gaps between one block and another powered by different boosters, there has to be a reference ground provided, or you'll at least get a stutter as the locomotive cruises over that spot. So by having this ground connection amongst several of these and boosters that require it, then that will not happen. So as you can see right here on the board, it says that it's rated at 5 amps DCC, and that's mainly limited by the amount of power that you're putting into it. So like the power supply I showed you a minute ago was rated at 4.5 amps, so you're not going to get more than 4.5 amps out of here. It's mainly going to give you that. If you want a full 5 amps, then you could go to a larger power supply. Another thing that I'll point out here is there are 3 LEDs. There's an LED right here that comes on when power is being supplied to the unit. There's one right here that comes on when the DCC power is being supplied. And you have another one that comes on when you have DCC power being supplied to the power bus. So it has a lot of neat features on it. In addition to the unit itself, it comes with this little packet of mounting screws and these plastic or nylon, I'm not sure which they are, but these are standoffs so that you can attach it to the underside of your layout or a board or whatever you want to attach it to. and it's going to be standing off and not sitting flat against it, because if you try to screw this down to a flat piece of board, it has this bolt and other connections underneath, and you can all too easily you can crack the board and break circuit traces by doing it that way. So by having these standoffs included, it raises it up high enough so that it clears those obstructions underneath. Now, as I said, this is not the only option available to you. If you have an extra booster laying around that you've managed to collect over time, you could use that for an accessory power bus, or you can buy a used one, or you can buy a brand new one. It's all up to you. I suggest, though, that you go on to the tamvalleydepot.com website and look up the 5-amp DCC Booster, and you can download the little PDF of instructions that they have available for you there, and take a look at that. Well, that's a wrap for today's video. You know, these are a really nice little, well-priced booster that you can use on your layout for creating an accessory power bus. So, you know, go on over to tamvalleydepot.com or litchfieldstation.com or any other DCC dealers that carry Tam Valley Depot products, and take a look at not only their accessory decoder booster here, but also the large variety of products that they make, in addition to the well-known frog juicer. So that's it for today. Have a great week, and we'll see you here on Friday with another video. Bye now.